I've gone through a couple of audio interfaces over the course of my short YouTube and Twitch career, and the one I will be presenting to you today is one that came in handy for my live streams and for podcasting, as a matter of fact, which we are actually trying to work on right now, and hopefully there will be some positive news surrounding that soon. However, we would like to introduce the Yamaha MG10XU. Is it worth it? The answer is absolutely, and I will tell you why, but let's go ahead and dive right in. For more great content just like this, just make sure to subscribe and then turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any uploads. Also, leave a like and a comment down below with all of your thoughts on this video. And while you're at it, I always leave affiliate links down below in the description as well. But make sure that you check out Lusterbuild so you can find the best deals on all of that tech that you're shopping for. It's a simple browser extension that helps you make the best purchasing decision. And lastly, don't forget to check out my merch store if you're into some monochrome clothing like everything I'm wearing right here. So with that said, links to everything down below. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick disclaimer. I'm not an audio engineer by any means, and I'm not really an audiophile either. However, I'm just going to tune things in a way that if it sounds good enough to me, then it's good enough for use in general. And I'm mostly going to be tackling this review from that perspective. So I just wanted you to keep that into consideration first and foremost, that it's not the most informative review that you're going to come across. However, it is one that is worth going for if you kind of just wanted a simplified version of what this thing is actually capable of. However, let us go ahead and actually get straight into the review. The exterior design is going to consist of plastic, but the internals are very hefty for sure. This mixer does not feel cheap by any means, and as you can see, it is indeed quite large. This is a 10-channel mixer, and it operates on USB 2.0, which is so interesting, and that it operates on such an old interface. Also, this has a power connection in the back and a power switch, which is really awesome to have since I get to save a little bit of power along the way. Unlike the Go XLR, which is what I mostly use and what I'm using right now to record this review. Let's just say that it really is nice to actually have that there. And on this mixer, you're going to get a lot of knobs and ports available to you right on the top. Like, you're going to get 4 microphone inputs, and only 2 of these microphones can actually have compression applied to them. These all have different knobs for adjusting the low end and mid-range and high frequencies. There are going to be 7 knobs in total, 4 pan knobs, your microphones, and a volume level for each one as well. You've also got your plus 48 volts button if you are a condenser microphone user. That does affect all 4 XLR ports, so do make sure that if you're going to have that switch on, that every microphone that is connected to that port is indeed a condenser microphone, because otherwise it could actually end up causing some damage to your dynamic microphone, because dynamic microphones don't depend on phantom power at all, unlike condenser microphones. And you've also got a panel on the side for pre-built sound effects, and all of these are going to be listed for you, and it's actually going to be a total of 24 sound effects, which can be triggered through the FX switch, and you can actually adjust the aggressiveness of these through an effects knob, which is also pretty cool to have. And there's just so much more here that I simply can't really get to. However, this is important, and that's that there's only one headphone jack for monitoring among all of these empty ports on this mixer, and this is a bit problematic but not a deal breaker. And when it comes to its monitoring performance, you might end up finding out that this is a little bit of a mixed bag, and it's just because I feel like this mixer is a little bit too prone to interference from different things. Now, the audio that you get that's coming from it does sound pretty good overall, and it does sound accurate to what you should be hearing depending on which microphone you're using, unless you're using the EQ settings and things like that. You're still getting a louder signal going into your headphones than what you are actually outputting, or inputting I should say, into your audio recording device. And that is something worth noting because you're definitely going to end up having to raise everything up in post. So if you don't mind having to do that, then hey, go for it. And if you want to use this as a podcasting device or your main interface overall, this is perfectly usable. Like, you can have up to a 4-person podcast with this mixer, because it's going to allow for 4 different microphones to be used at the same time. However, It's just going to be that they can only apply any kind of compression to two of them, and if any of those microphones happens to be a condenser, and if you have a dynamic on the other side, then the phantom power is going to affect all of them, and that's not necessarily going to be ideal. And just considering that there's only one headphone jack, it means that there's only one person that's going to be monitoring the audio the entire time. So at least the host gets to monitor the audio. However, it would be nice if at least one more guest, since a two-person podcast would usually be ideal. It would just be really nice to have a second headphone jack, like some other smaller audio interfaces happen to have. And yeah, I just feel like that's a bit of a missed opportunity there. However, this is still a perfectly usable device, and you can get some really nice sounds coming from it actually. It's just that it doesn't have that much gain in my opinion, which is going to lead me directly into microphone support. And as I just mentioned, this mixer doesn't really deliver on that much gain, so it's usable with most dynamic microphones, but oftentimes I do find myself having to raise the volume in post, so I wouldn't really use an SM7B for example with it. But a Rode PodMic should work just fine and sounds pretty great. I've already mentioned most of my complaints as of now, but if I had any more, then it's just that I really don't like that this does not come with a mandatory USB cable that it needs in order to be operated on a computer, and it requires a USB Type B connection, which is not a very common connection unless you're using like a printer or something like that, which even then it's still a slightly different connection. It just would have been nice. It would have been a very cheap inclusion, and it just would have helped a lot. The instructions on this one are going to be complex and definitely not very user-friendly. I suggest looking at a tutorial online for how to operate this mixer, or just go ahead and play around with it, because experience can actually help you build up to that point where you know how to use it. So like playing around with it is most certainly a great idea too. So I would not consider this to be very accessible, and that much I think most people can definitely agree on. This mixer also gets very hot around the XLR ports, and I mean very hot, so do be careful, because I often do fear for some of my equipment, just considering how weirdly hot it just gets around that portion, but hey. And that's pretty much it. I use this for streaming and audio monitoring, and it actually worked pretty well for quite a while. I never used any of the effects on it for streaming or anything like that, but it was always nice having the ability to tune my microphone to sound pretty much however I want. It is not a perfect device, and it's not made for everyone either, but it's a great one at what it does. But just be careful, as the learning curve might actually be a lot to go through, and if this looks intimidating to you, then you might want to stay away from it. With that said, it's definitely worth the money, and I strongly recommend it, as it is fairly affordable and it does quite a lot for the money. So hey, I just gotta recommend it. And if you're interested in purchasing this mixer, then I'll be making sure to leave affiliate links down to Amazon in the description, and if you end up using any of my links, then I get a small commission that does help me run things just a little bit more smoothly around here. So if you were to use those, I would appreciate that quite a bit. And there's also Luster, which is a great tool for helping you find different types of accessories, and I'm going to leave that link down below because it also helps a lot with finding sales, and I really recommend that you actually go ahead and give that a try. I really do. I also stream on Twitch every Friday and Saturday from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time, so do make sure to stop by if you would like to ask any questions, or if you would just like to stop by and chill, then I think that would be awesome. And do not forget to follow me also on Twitter and Instagram, since I do post updates over there as well on future videos or current videos and things like that that could end up being useful to you. But with that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you all on the next one. Enjoy.